So should the Sonic movie include other notable secondary characters such as Tails, Knuckles, Shadow, Amy, the whole gang? Let's discuss right now.
I got hot sauce in my bag, swag.
Hey there beautiful human, my name is RidersDX and welcome to my channel, where today we're going to be having a little bit of a discussion regarding the Sonic movie. So I actually feel a little bit rusty right now because, believe it or not, I haven't recorded a video in a whole week. I kind of gave myself some time to take a break from the channel and all that, but I did have some other videos to put in the meantime, so that's why it doesn't seem like I've taken a break. But I feel very rusty right now, so if I kind of sound more like a rambling mess than usual, then that's why. So today we're going to be talking about the idea of having other Sonic characters in this movie besides Sonic and Eggman, who are already confirmed. So obviously some of the first choices we would think about is Tails and Knuckles and maybe Amy and maybe Shadow, a lot of the really big Sonic characters that we usually pretty much see in every single Sonic game, barring a few. So we're going to talk about today whether it's a good idea to have those characters be a part of this movie specifically or not. Now before I get started, I just want to plug in today's fan art. So this one comes from a user named Spooks. They posted this in my Discord server, and look at Metal Duckles over here. This reminds me of a specific TV show or like game or something. I'm not really sure. Drawing style seems kind of similar to something, but I just don't remember what it is. But I really love it. It's pretty different from all the other ones I've looked at. I love the way that Beak is drawn in particular. I don't know how to describe it. I just really like this. So thank you so much for drawing this. Spooks has a YouTube channel for what it looks like, so I'll leave a link to that in the description box below, and also leave a link in the top right corner. So again, thank you so much for this. I really appreciate it. Back to the topic at hand. So unfortunately, there's not a lot of new things that have come out about the movie since I last made a video about it. And you know what? I think we will be getting something soon with South by Southwest coming up. But I thought in the meantime, we can have a bit of a little discussion regarding one aspect of the movie that I haven't seen too much discussion about, and that's whether or not we'll see some other Sonic characters in this movie. So obviously we know that Sonic is a big part of the movie, and also Dr. Eggman, or in this case Dr. Robotnik, because I think they're using the original name of Eggman. And also we have like the cop, who is a big character as well, and those are the main three from what I know of so far. I mean, there's other characters that have been cast, but those look like the three main characters as of now. And the question comes to my head is, are we gonna see other Sonic characters be a part of this movie? And more importantly, should they be a part of this movie? And that's a really interesting question, and it kind of depends on a lot of factors. So we're gonna disregard the fact that people might not like the design of the other Sonic characters that are in here, because I know there's a lot of controversy when it comes to Sonic's design in this movie. So let's completely ignore what the characters are going to look like, and let's not let that factor into our thoughts in this video. What I really want to focus on is whether it's good from a story perspective to include other characters such as Tails and Knuckles in this movie. So here's the thing about movies. Most movies are what? 1.5 to 2.5 hours long, but with cartoon movies in particular, kind of like this one, that are more aimed at children, they're usually more on the shorter side, so about 1.5 to 2 hours. So that may sound like a decent amount of time to be watching something, but to introduce Sonic in a brand new light to an audience that probably has not heard of him or is not really familiar with him the way that we are, that's a lot to fit into a 1.5 to 2 hour movie. So from that perspective, you already have to develop Sonic's personality, Dr. Robotnik's personality, and the cop's personality. You also need to develop a specific relationship between Sonic and the cop, because much of the movie, from what it looks like, is about Sonic and the cop running around together on an adventure. And so that's a relationship that's going to take time to develop in the movie, because they'll meet each other for the first time obviously, but also you need to kind of let the audience dive in and get invested in the story between these two characters, and that could take a lot of the movie, to be honest. And also obviously you need to have a lot of plot progression with the movie, because we need to find out, how does Sonic get to this world? Why is Sonic running away from the cops and from the government? And what is Dr. Robotnik planning, and how is Sonic going to stop him? You need to kind of progress through all these really big plot points in the 1.5 to 2 hour time slot that this movie has. and on top of that, you need to be having these relationships developed. So where does that leave us in terms of room for Tails and Knuckles, for example? There's not a lot of room, to be honest, at least if you want the movie to have decent character development. I mean, sure, it would be cool to see Tails and Knuckles on the big screen, you know, but is there enough time to develop them adequately for a brand new audience? Because you gotta remember, a lot of people watching this movie are gonna be people who are not that familiar with Sonic, so they're not gonna really know who Sonic is all about. They're not really gonna know who Dr. Robotnik is. They're not really gonna know who Tails and Knuckles are and how they relate to Sonic. There's a lot of things that the audience need to be reintroduced to, because a lot of the people watching this movie will not be diehard fans like you and me right now who are watching this video, who are talking about this, probably are. I mean, I know that people watching this video are very familiar with Sonic. They actually would love to see like a bunch of different characters and a bunch of things for this movie, making references to the video games, to the various comics and TV shows. We're all really big diehard Sonic fans, and we all know what we want to see in a Sonic movie. But this movie is not being made for just Sonic fans. It's being made for the general public. And that's probably a reason why it's being made as live action, because live action is inherently a little more interesting than a fully CGI movie. And I know I'm gonna get a lot of flack for saying that, but in my honest opinion, that is true. Like, I don't think this movie would be having nearly as much controversy or as much discussion as it would be right now if it was fully CGI. Like, I just don't think it would have as much discussion, at least. And that's probably what the studio was going for in terms of marketing this movie. Whether or not that's better from a quality standpoint is a completely different topic that I've touched upon before in tons of videos beforehand. From the perspective of developing the character relationships and developing the storyline, I just don't think there's enough room in this movie, at least, for Tails and Knuckles to be part of it. Now, if this was a movie that was taking place in Sonic's world, where everything was already developed with their relationships, then maybe it would make more sense to include the other characters in this movie. But because Sonic will be traveling to a brand new world and getting to know all these different characters in the human world, it just doesn't seem like adequately reasonable to develop the characters of Tails and Knuckles as well. Like, I just don't think the movie has enough room and space for that. And also, if they were included in there, they feel more shoehorned in than anything, you know? Unless these characters would have a really big integral part in what Dr. Robotnik is doing and how Sonic got to this world and how he gets out, there is no reasonable way, in my opinion, that they could include characters like Tails and Knuckles in here and give them the proper background and storytelling that they truly deserve. Because the last thing I want to do is to really see these great characters just get shoehorned into the movie as basically fan service for people that are diehard Sonic fans. Like, I don't know, I just don't think that would do the characters justice. It'd be a waste of time, and ultimately we'd all be disappointed in the end from how little we actually see of these characters, because the premise and the foundation of this movie doesn't really give enough room to develop these characters full on. But on the other hand, I could be wrong. Like, maybe they're developing the movie in a way where Tails or Knuckles or another Sonic character are a very, very big part of this movie, and that they actually have a lot to do with the plot progression. If that's the case, then I'd be really interested in seeing it. But I just think, for the sake of this movie, for the sake of it being the first one, and also for the sake of it being the first movie being shown to like a general public that are probably not too familiar with Sonic, I just think it's a lot smarter and a lot more reasonable to just focus on Sonic and the cops specifically, and focus on Dr. Robotnik specifically, and then maybe expanding upon that in like a sequel or something like that if it were to happen. So that's just my opinion. And to kind of further support this, I'm gonna reference the Detective Pikachu movie for a second. So in that movie, of course, you have all these different characters in there, all these different Pokemon making an appearance there, but the primary focus is on Pikachu and Tim, who is the name of the Pokemon trainer that travels with Pikachu. The main focus is on those two. We don't really know who the antagonist is, as far as I know anyway. I mean, maybe it's, I don't know. I'm not a big Pokemon junkie, so I don't know what's going on in terms of the story. But you can tell from the trailers that we've seen so far that the primary focus is on the relationship between those two. And I believe the Sonic movie is going to take a similar direction between Sonic and the cop. It just makes the most sense, and it's the most reasonable thing to like strive for in a 1.5 to 2 hour movie. Otherwise, you're going to be trying to cram in a lot of content into the movie that will just feel shoehorned in rather than actually put in for the sake of the plot. And that's ultimately what I wanted to focus on. I wanted to focus on making sure that the plot is good, that's fully developed and is interesting, not trying to include as many things as possible to appease everyone, because in that way you're going to upset everyone in return, because people on one end will be disappointed because the movie is very underwhelming. It just feels like a bunch of things mashed up together. And on the other hand, people that that wanted these things in the movie will be disappointed as well, because they're not fully fleshed out and the characters are not a part of this movie nearly as much as they wanted to in the first place. That would have been better off for them to just not be a part of it. Okay, but like I said before, if there is a sequel being planned or if there's a sequel being written, then maybe in that case they can kind of slowly introduce other Sonic characters into this universe and give them the proper time and development to really find their place in this brand new Sonic universe. And that's ultimately what I have to say about it. I just think that based on different movies that have come out before and in the places that they succeeded and the places that they failed, that it's a lot more reasonable to just focus on this primary relationship between Sonic and the Cop and Sonic and the Cop and Dr. Robotnik, and then maybe expand upon that in future installments. But let me know in the comment section what you think about this. Do you think we should see other Sonic characters in the movie such as Tails and Knuckles? And if you do, then let me know why in the comment section below, and if you do not, then let me know why as well in the comment section below. I don't think this is something that a lot of people have thought about, but maybe it's something that crossed your minds every now and then. It's just like there's a lot bigger fish to fry in terms of discussion for this movie, so I just thought it'd be a really interesting topic to bring up, and I'd be really curious to hear as to what you all think about this. Okay, please be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you like it, subscribe to my channel if you like videos like these, want to see more in the future, follow me on Twitter at RidersDX, or join my Discord server, the Spongy Garden. And this is Riders, riding out.